We're at it again. It always feels good to get in the studio and do a podcast because, talking about the NFL and covering pro football is just one thing that I am very, very passionate about. So to be here talking football with all you guys means the world to me. We're going to be talking about the Jets today. I know I talked about the Ravens being one of the big winners of the offseason in the last podcast. The team that probably made the most progress is probably the New York Jets. They get Aaron Rodgers. They bring in Allen Lazard. Randall Cobb comes too. The Jets are looking good. Now we're to the point we have to wonder, can the Jets challenge the Bills in the AFC East? I think that's where things seem to be headed. And, we don't know for sure if the Jets can challenge the Bills. You never know how things are going to pan out when you have an experiment like the Jets are, hashing out right now. You have to take some time to see, where this thing's going to end up. But for the most part, the Jets are getting better. We know they're one of the most, if not the most improved team in football. I like what the Jets did. I like what the Ravens did. I like what the Eagles did on draft night. Those teams seem to be winning in the offseason. But there's no doubt the Jets made a huge splash by getting Aaron Rodgers, Allen Lazard, and Randall Cobb. So by bringing Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb with him, I think that makes the Jets way better than just if, Aaron Rodgers was the only guy that went to the Jets. By bringing his old teammates with him, he brings that chemistry, he brings those relationships, he brings the rhythm and timing that he has down with those players. That's going to be crucial for the Jets. There's no doubt about it. There's not going to be a learning curve there. They're not going to skip a beat. In fact, it's going to be the exact opposite. They're going to pick up right where they left off because those guys have practiced together for such a long time that it's almost like riding a bike. They're going to pick up right where they left off. There's no doubt about it. I think that makes the Jets offense very, very scary heading into this season. Don't get me wrong. We've seen teams like the 2011 Eagles that were supposed to be the dream team before they came crashing back to earth with an 8-8 record. So we've seen teams loaded with talent fail to fulfill their potential in the past. However, I don't think that's going to be the case with the Jets. I think they're going to be very close. Have they actually surpassed the Bills? It's hard to say. Like I said, I don't know. It's going to take time before we see, where they're really at, whether they're a Jets team that will eventually take control of this division or whether they're more like the Eagles 2011 Dream Team where they have all the talent but it just doesn't pan out for whatever reason. I will say this, though. It does appear that the power is starting to shift in this division. I think that's a good sign if you're a Jets fan. You have to be optimistic about where this team is heading. You got one of the best quarterbacks of all time leading your team in a quarterback-driven league. That tells you exactly what you need to know. That, this team's going to be built around Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to have to sit there for Zach Wilson or Mike White anymore. Not that Mike White was bad. It seemed like he stepped up when he got his shot. I still think, the musical chairs that the Jets have played at quarterback, those days are over because you have Aaron Rodgers. You have a guy that has, really outside of Peyton Manning. I think Peyton Manning's the only guy that's won more MVPs than Aaron Rodgers has. So when you look at the most MVPs that a quarterback has won, what do you got? Peyton Manning number 1 and Aaron Rodgers number 2? That tells you something. You have a quarterback that's going to be at the top of his game. He's reinvigorated after finally getting out of Green Bay. It seems like Aaron Rodgers has wanted out of Green Bay for the last 2 or 3 years. He just felt underappreciated by the front office, the GM they had there, Brian Gutekunst. So to get the fresh start that he's gotten with the Jets, you can tell it's already, reinvigorating Aaron Rodgers because he's showing up to off-season workouts. He seems like he's in a great mood. He's eager to meet all of his new teammates. All of the feelings that Aaron Rodgers had with the Packers, where he was a little bit standoffish because the Packers were kind of not. They weren't treating him the right way. The Packers were not, drafting wide receivers. They failed to get him the help that he needed when he was with Green Bay. They were in the NFC Championship game all those years, two or 3 years in a row. Yet the Packers are drafting Jordan Love, a backup quarterback that wasn't even on the field. He's sitting on the bench, not even getting playing time. Well, when you're one game away from the Super Bowl, you need to get Aaron Rodgers another weapon. The Packers failed to do that. That's why he was frustrated. That's why he wanted out. He goes to the Jets. It's the complete opposite. Now he's showing up to off-season workouts. Now he's laser focused. Instead of checking out, he's checking in. That is a drastic change, not only for the team. I know the Packers weren't getting that from Aaron Rodgers at the end because of everything that happened. But for the Jets, they have a leader that's on the field. He's not only on the field trying to do everything he can to make the team better, it's also making him better. Getting all those reps in practice means Aaron Rodgers will be even sharper. He's going to be better. He's going to be more crisp. I think he's doing a good job of mentoring Zach Wilson. Remember, Zach Wilson said he wanted to give Aaron Rodgers hell. Well, those guys they're gelling. They're gelling on the field at all these off-season workouts. So I think that's going to be big for Zach Wilson too, to sit there and learn from Aaron Rodgers the way that Aaron Rodgers got to learn from Brett Favre. I think we all know how huge that can be for Zach Wilson later on. Now, is Zach Wilson salvageable? I don't know. I don't know if the Jets will be able to salvage him. It does mean that the Jets quarterback room is better than it's been in the past because you have Aaron Rodgers as the number one guy. Then you have Zach Wilson, who will benefit from being mentored by Aaron Rodgers as the number two quarterback. So instead of having Zach Wilson as your number one, he's your number two. Whether you agree or not, that does make the Jets quarterback room better than it was a year ago. Really, that's all you're trying to do heading into the season. You're trying to get better. You're trying to, fix any weaknesses that you have. I think the Jets were able to do that by getting Aaron Rodgers. I think they're a better team overall. They're in great shape. If the Bills keep regressing, they got beat up a little bit by the Bengals in the playoffs. It was a little bit shocking to see the Bengals rough the Bills up like that. I think that game was in Buffalo too. So to get physically beat down in your own house, the Jets will have a real shot at closing the gap and maybe surpassing the Bills this year in the AFC East. It's going to be close. If they fulfill their potential, if they're the team we think they can be, it's probably going to be a 3-team race in the AFC East. It's going to be Jets, Bills, Dolphins. I think the Patriots probably take a back seat. They just don't have enough firepower to compete unless that Bill Belichick defense can keep them in the hunt. The Jets gain a lot of ground. That's got to come at the other team's expenses. It's definitely going to hurt Buffalo a little bit. Miami, is getting better. At least last year they were getting better with Tyreek Hill. Sounds like they might get Dalvin Cook too. That's going to help. However, the Jets are going to take some wins away from two teams. The two teams that seem like it will probably be are, the Patriots and the Dolphins. I think they chisel into the Bills a little bit too. Now, will it flip the division? We're going to find out soon. It's only a matter of time. From the looks of it, though, everything seems to be working out for the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is there. He's showing up. Like I said, he's happy. Everything seems to be smooth sailing out of the gate. Usually that's a good sign. Sometimes it takes a little bit for a new player to transition into his new team. That hasn't been the case at all. Aaron Rodgers has hit the ground running with the Jets. I promise you that. So it does look like the Jets are going to be a team that gets better, one of the most improved teams in football, if not the most improved team. I think they have to be the most improved team. Like I said, the three teams that have won the offseason, number one, Jets. Ravens are a big winner too. Number three, it's got to be the Eagles and what they did in the draft. So keep an eye on the Jets. Keep an eye on the Bills. Those two teams are on a collision course with each other. We'll see how it plays out. I'm John Kuzma. Thanks for checking out the Across the Middle show.